T minus 10,
9,
8, 7,
6,
5,
4,
3, 2,
1.
ignition!
Lift off. We have lift off.
Lift off!
Lift off.
Hello and welcome everyone to Rocket Lab's transmitting mission. Thank you all for thank you to the viewers joining us as we get ready to go to space once again today. Currently we are watching the weather here in Mejia Peninsula. Currently it's looking good. We're still a little bit shaky on the max Q weather, but we should report back at about T-minus 15 if we go for launch on the weather. If not, we will scrub today's mission, but so far so good. But we are still checking because currently it's a 50% chance of launching today. This mission will be launching the DOT GPS sat into low Earth orbit. The satellite will be taking pictures of cities and towns to provide data for a GPS, Now I want to keep this in mind to anyone watching. We're not affiliated with the real life Rocket Lab. We're a company on Roblox expanding off of their idea. We do not monetize their work in any way either. Should copyright holders request to take down all Rocket Lab assets, we will do so immediately. We'll take down any assets or any videos regarding the group. So I'm going to be talking about the timeline for a little bit, and then I'll get to the rocket. We'll be talking about the Electron, kick stage, and etc. So let's talk about the timeline. So currently on the countdown clock, we are currently T-minus 20 minutes and 5 seconds on the dot. And currently we are go right now, but that could change at any moment or any time. So you never know what could happen. But yeah. So I'm sorry, T-minus We're sorry about that. It turns out we just had some technical difficulties within the stream, but we are now sorted out, and the connection should be stable again. So earlier we were talking about the timeline of the countdown. So currently we're at T minus 16 minutes and 10 seconds. Coming up at T minus 15 will be our engine chilling. That's when we start loading up the RP1, LOX, and liquid oxygen. And when we start loading up that, or when we start chilling that liquid oxygen, sorry, the condensation from the liquid oxygen from how much we chill it will evaporate and will just vapor off the, or will just come off the rocket. You'll see it's like a little plume. Currently at T minus 15 minutes and 40 seconds, the weather has cleared up, and we're currently at a 80% chance of launching now. So currently all is go on that side. Now let's talk about the Electron itself, the vehicle that's taking the DOT into orbit today. So let's talk about that first stage. The first stage will light at exactly T minus 0 with its 9 Rutherford engines, and it'll have a peak thrust of 41,500 pounds at once it's throttling up, and then but at liftoff it'll have a thrust of 34,500 pounds. 3D printing is a major capability of this engine, and that's why Rocket Lab's very proud of it. The Rutherford is the first oxygen kerosene engine to use 3D printing for all primary components, and the engine print time is only 24 hours. And if you think about that, that's quite remarkable. And there's also a new propulsion cycle we've designed. Rutherford is an oxygen kerosene engine, like I've said, which is pump fed. So it has an entirely new propulsion cycle. Its unique high-performance electric prop pumps reduce mass and replace hardware with software. So that's one big thing, our new propulsion cycle, which is amazing. The avionics is what I'll talk about next. So Rocket Lab excels at producing high-performance miniature avionics and flight computer systems. The computer nodes make use of state-of-the-art FPGA architecture, allowing massive customization of function while retaining hardware commonality. Since we're using a new propulsion cycle, we had to design new cryogenic and custom cryogenic valves for helium pressurization systems and etc. And I didn't mention this, but at T-15 we had engine chilling start, and you can see on the vehicle the condensation venting from the rocket, which is that big white plume you see right there. So moving on, that's the engine chilling. I'll talk about the carbon composite material, which is on the fairing. The carbon composite is quite amazing, actually. So Electron makes use of advanced carbon composite materials for a strong and lightweight flight structure. And through an extensive research program, Rocket Lab has developed carbon composite tanks that are compatible with liquid oxygen, providing impressive weight savings. So that's quite amazing. But once we've used all the fuel on the first stage, obviously we need to put our second stage to use. So let's talk about that second stage. So the Electron second stage is powered by a variant of the Rutherford engine, providing improved performance in vacuum conditions. And we say that because obviously space is a vacuum, so we need improved vacuum conditions. Obviously, the total thrust will be 22 kilonewtons, which is 5,000 pounds at thrust, and that will be enough to give it just to get a high enough apogee for the payload. But if there needs to be a little bit of more custom if we get a payload that needs a custom orbit, we have a choice of using a kick stage, an optional apogee kick stage called hypercurie, or sorry, called photon. We're called photon, sorry, with the hypercurie engine on the back. Funnily enough, we're actually using it for today's mission, so pay attention closely. So the optional apogee kick stage, Photon, can execute multiple burns to place numerous payloads into different circularized orbits. It opens up significantly more orbital options, particularly for riser customers that have traditionally been limited to the primary payload designated orbit. Powered by Rocket Lab's 3D printed liquid propellant Curie engine, capable of 120 newtons of thrust and multiple burns. So, funnily enough, for today's mission of DOT, we will be using the Photon with the Curie engine. So this Photon or kickstand, sorry, will actually be able to just boost its apogee just a tad bit so that it's in the basic, so that the apogee is kicked up so that it's at the custom payload. Custom orbit, I'm sorry. Losing English today. And I'm sorry, not Hypercurie. I was talking about Curie. Hypercurie will only be used for moon missions, so I'm sorry about that. Curie is what we'll be using. I'm sorry. I've lost all faith in my English today. And as you can see, we are T minus 10 minutes. The clamp arm has successfully opened. So the clamp arm is the arm that's holding the rocket. And you can see that it is retracted. You can see it's just expanded. The strong back will not be happening quite yet. Strong back will be at strong back retraction will be at T minus 6 minutes and 40 seconds. And at this time, the weather is go, so that is very nice. And it's currently 8:08 a.m. in New Zealand. Sorry, 8:20 a.m. in New Zealand. Currently the weather is go, and the Mission Control Launch Director has reported that his systems and his stations at the Mission Control Center are go. Then the strong back retraction at T minus 6 minutes and 40 seconds will be the T minus 3 minutes, will be at T minus 3 minutes. That will be the launch safety call from Mission Control. This is when all the ground teams will be moving to launch safety. Launch safety only happens because at T minus 3 minutes, the propellant has been successfully loaded into the vehicle, and if there were to be an explosion at the pad, which we really don't, which we hope that doesn't happen, nobody will get affected. So that's why we have launch safety. And currently, we are at T minus 8 minutes and 18 seconds on the clock. The ground teams have reported that their systems are go currently. The satellites that will be getting feed from the vehicle once it's going into space also are currently tuned in to the rocket, so that whenever there's any updates, the satellites will be getting data and will be transmitting that data to Mission Control. So that is all good currently. So as you can see, we're at T minus 5 minutes and 10 seconds. We've had strong back retraction, but you can still see that little cable that is attached to the rocket at this time. So once we're at T minus 2 seconds, that's when the vehicle will start clearing the pad. That little cable right there will disconnect from the vehicle, and the rocket will be on its way. So currently at T minus 4 minutes and 45 seconds. The next major event will be at 3 minutes for launch safety activation. I've already gone over that, but I will talk about the stages from T minus 0 all the way to payload deployment. So at T minus 0, we'll have stage 1 ignition. The 9 Rutherford engines will burst to life, and we will have liftoff. Once after liftoff, we'll be going to our maximum aerodynamic pressure phase, which is also known as max Q. That will be the most stress put onto the vehicle due to how thick the atmosphere will be. Now, once we're past the max Q phase of the mission, we'll have MECO, which is main engine cutoff. MECO happens because we have depleted all the fuel on the first stage, and there's no more fuel left for us to burn those 9 engines. So we stage the vehicle, and the first stage will come back and fall into the ocean safely near the launch complex. Once that is complete, we will have second stage ignition so that the Rutherford vacuum engine will be ready to light. And that will just give it that apogee that it'll need. And then once we're done with that and that we've used all the fuel, then we'll stage again, and that is when we'll have kick stage ignition, also known as photon. Then we'll ignite that Curie engine, and Curie will just give it that really tiny burn that will boost its apogee so that it's in the perfect orbit that the payload customer has requested. So once we're done with that, we'll have kick stage cutoff, and then we'll have payload separation from the kick stage. Once we're at payload sep, that just can confirm that we have had a successful mission, and we'll be handing over all the stats from mission control to the payload customer, and they can monitor the payloads and they can do whatever they want with it. Currently, we're at currently we're at T minus 2 minutes and 30 seconds. We've had launch safety activation, as I've said. And coming up at about T minus 12 seconds will be water deluge system activation. The water deluge system activation helps suppress the sound of the of ignition, which will be very loud. So we in advance we recommend that you turn your volume down. So currently at T minus 2 minutes, we are at T minus 2 minutes. Coming up at T minus 12 seconds, we'll have water deluge system activation. And then at T minus 4 seconds, we'll have engine ignition. And then once we're at T minus 0, we'll be throttled up to the amount of thrust that is needed for us to push the vehicle to clear the pad. And then it'll be on its way. And we're at 1 minute and 30 seconds now. And currently, Mission Control reports that they are go for launch, and all the stations report that they are go for launch at the Mission Control Center in Auckland. All the ground controllers also report that their systems are go, and the satellites are also. Satellite feed is tuned into the rocket so that any new information that will be required to be grabbed from the vehicle, so that will be staging, etc., telemetry, and all of that will be transmitted over to Mission Control Center in Auckland. Auckland will be, once this mission is over, and if it is successful or not, we will be assessing the data and will be sending all the data to the payload customer. Now we're at T minus 40 seconds. Vehicle is currently is on internal power now. We've gone from ground power to internal power, and guidance is now internal as well. And T-minus 10. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Ignition. 2, 1, 0. And liftoff. The Electron is on its way into orbit. And here we go on another hopeful successful mission. The vehicle has cleared the tower, and we're standing by for the vehicle for pitching down range. And the vehicle is pitching down range. T plus 17 seconds. And we were at the max Q phase, reported from Mission Control. We are throwing down 9 Rutherford engines. And we have Miko. Yes. And we have staging. Stand by for second engine start. And we have second engine start. And coming up next will be fairing separation, and then we'll have second engine cutoff, and then we'll have second engine staging, and then we'll have Curie ignition on the Photon. I'd like to mention really quickly that this is our 20th mission here at Rocket Lab, so this is a commemorative one, and we're very happy, and we hope to see many more milestones. So thanks to the viewers staying with us from day 1 and from the first mission. And we're now at the 20th, so coming up will be more milestones at 30, 40, and 50, and we'll see what happens next. T plus 1 minute and 42 seconds, all systems are go. The second stage is providing the apogee needed for the staging, which will occur sometime soon. And we have fairing separation. You can see dot. You can see the dot is now mounted onto Curie. And coming up will be staging sometime soon in about 10 to 30 seconds. So we're just boosting up our apoapsis so that we're in a high enough orbit. But we won't have enough fuel to put the payload into its full designated orbit, so that's obviously why we have Photon with us today. So that will be helping us so that we get the perfect orbit for this payload. And as you can see on your screen at this time, you have a live view of the Mission Control Center. Mission Control teams are reviewing the telemetry of the vehicle and etc. The telemetry, which means meters per second, all the data, when the vehicle started pitching down range, how fast it pitched down range, all of that, and all the technical terms. And we have staging. We have had successful staging, and Curie's engines have ignited, confirmation. So as you can see, those four Curie engines will be giving it just a little bit of that apogee increase, just enough so that it's in the perfect orbit. And we have telemetry, and telemetry is nominal on those 4 engines currently, and we are getting the amount of thrust that is needed for us to be for the payload to be put into the right orbit. Coming up next sometime soon, in about 1 minute, 30 seconds to 1 minute, sorry, will be our cutoff on those 4 Curie engines, and we'll have payload separation. Once payload separation occurs, we will confirm that this mission is successful. We'll be assessing data, and then we'll be transferring all the data for the payload over to our customer. And they will be doing whatever they need for the payload. They'll be doing whatever they want to do with the payload. And you can see those 4 engines still ignited, still boosting its apogee. It doesn't have much thrust, as I've said, so it needs to burn for quite some time so that it's in the perfect orbit. But since it doesn't have much thrust, it's a bit more fine precision, which helps a lot because we're getting that perfect orbit. Since this is a GPS set, it's in a higher orbit than usual, so that it can get better pictures and etc. And we have separation confirmed of the payload. Dot is now orbiting around the Earth in a GPS orbit. The GPS orbit is just a bit higher than the Earth because it needs to take different pictures from different angles, and since it's higher has a better it just has a better opportunity to do that. And we have payload separation confirmed at T plus 5 minutes and 33 seconds. And the payload is in good condition, and we're assessing data at Mission Control Center, and we'll be transferring the data of the payload to our customer. Now I'd like to get this clear. I didn't get to mention this as much before since we're in our launch phase. I want to talk about how this is our 20th mission here at Rocket Lab. The 20th, I'm sorry, this is the 20th mission, like I said. The 20th mission is a major milestone, and we thank everyone who's joined us since day one here at Rocket Lab. It's our first mission, and it's just quite amazing. We have to thank our two founders that are both amazing. Quova, Kiwi is what I like to call him, and then Train, of course, for making this group such an amazing place to be. Now I'd like to hand it over to Train, our co-founder.
Hello, thank you once again for watching another stream and all that. Today went pretty well. Sorry again for a slight delay on the stream. We were just waiting for the commentator to get online. However, we are happy with the 20th launch and would like to thank you all for joining us. And all eyes forwards.
Do you want to 10,
9,
8, 7,
6,
5,
4,
3, 2,
1.
ignition,
Lift off. We have lift off.
lift off.
Lift off.